Attention sports enthusiasts, keep the adrenaline pumping and elevate your game day with Chumba Casino. It's completely free to play. No purchase necessary. Whether you're cheering from the stands, on the move, or relaxing at home, Chumba Casino brings the thrill of social casino directly to your fingertips. Experience the ultimate social casino adventure with reels of casino-style games, offering hundreds of exciting options to choose from and fresh new releases every week. There's always something new and thrilling to explore, from action-packed social slots and classic blackjack to engaging bingo and solitaire. The fun never stops. Plus, enjoy generous daily login bonuses and a fantastic free welcome bonus to kickstart your social gaming journey. Dive into the excitement. Discover a world where you can play for your chance to redeem some serious prizes and have a blast along the way. Don't miss out. What are you waiting for? Join now and immerse yourself in nonstop fun and adventure with Chumba Casino. Get in on the action today at ChumbaCasino.com and make every day a Chumba day. No purchase necessary. VGW Group. Void where prohibited by law. 18 plus TNC apply.
Every leader knows that growth starts with a single step, or sometimes a single insight. Our Paper Napkin Wisdom newsletter is designed to deliver those insights straight to you. It has already helped so many others, so why not make it your next move? Sign up at papernapkinwisdom.com.
Welcome to Paper Napkin Wisdom, where we share pearls of wisdom shared by some of the world's top entrepreneurs, leaders, and difference makers. Here's your host, Govind Jayaraman.
Hi, I'm Govind Jayaraman, and this is Paper Napkin Wisdom, episode 227. Today, I invite you to consider something powerful. What if resilience isn't about enduring, but thriving? What if you already have the foundation for resilience within you, and all you needed is the right approach to unlock it? My guest, Luis Velasquez, is a leadership coach, resilient expert, and author of Ordinary Resilience. He's worked with high-performing professionals like you, helping them navigate challenges with confidence. Could it be that resilience is the key to achieving the success you've been striving for? Well, Luis shares an incredible insight that might change the way you look at obstacles, along with his incredible story. Imagine what would happen if you embraced this formula in your own life. Well, he did, and he changed everything. In this conversation, we explore the hidden power of resilience, and you may begin to notice how commitment and persistence are vital, but without an essential ingredient of optimism may not be enough. So as you listen, allow yourself to wonder what might be possible for you if you leaned into resilience today. Grab your napkin, jot down your insights, and let's discover together. Let's listen in on my conversation with Luis. Luis Velasquez, welcome to Paper Napkin Wisdom. I'm excited to have you here with me today.
Thank you so much. I mean, I really appreciate the opportunity to be here with you today.
Yeah, so you shared with me an interesting paper napkin, and I'm going to do my best to describe it for everybody listening. Obviously, check it out online. It says resilience is equal to commitment plus persistence, and there's brackets. So it's an equation. Commitment plus persistence in brackets, the whole thing, times optimism. And there's a circle around the whole thing, like a cloud. Why did you share that with me?
Well, there are two reasons. Number one, because that is the subject of my book, Ordinary Resilience. And number two is because it has a lot of emotional connection in my journey as a human being, and my dad, and many of the people that I have coached, and as a professional coach right now. So it is it is something that I want to bring to the world. What is resilience? Is commitment, persistence times optimism.
So how did you come to experience this for yourself then?
So I'll give you a little background, quick background. So I grew up in Guatemala, Central America, in a time that was full of war, political war. The Cold War wasn't fought in the United States or Russia; it was fought in Latin America. So I grew up there at that time. In addition to that, I grew up in extreme poverty. Somehow I made it to the United States through a scholarship and got a PhD. My dream was become a professor. Um, Everything was going well until I got blessed with a brain tumor. And during that brain tumor, long story short, my professional dreams didn't survive, nor my marriage, but I survived the tumor. And during that process, I started, thinking, what am I going to do? How am I going to do this? How else I want to survive this situation? And I started running as a recovery. In fact, I call my recovery a marathon training. And I started running, and I run one marathon, and then I run another one, and I run almost 100 marathons, including several with Ironman, including Ironman triathlons and ultra marathons. A lot of people tell me, my God, you're so resilient. How do you do it? Because my life has been up and down, a lot of suffering, a lot of, really some extreme things that are happening to me. And in my mind, I was thinking, there's nothing special about me. I just do it just because I do it. I haven't nothing else, no training on anything. I just did what it was natural to me. While I was coaching, I realized that we all have access to these three things: is commitment, being committed to something, being persistent, and being optimistic. Now, resilience, the way I see it, resilience is an outcome. People say resilience is how you bounce back, is recovering, is doing that. But there is not much information about what is happening to you during things that are going bad or hard times. And the way I see it is resilience is these three things when you're happening, and we all have access to it. What I mean by that is that resilience is not extraordinary. Resilience is ordinary. We all have access to these things, and so that's the origin of this formula. Let's put it that way, which I hope is what I have found is that it's an aha moment for many people that I talk about it with.
So I think there's a lot that you said. First of all, and I want to make sure that we go through all of it because you shared an incredible story. For people who don't know, I mean, Guatemala has been a country that's been ravaged by political war for many years. And when you talk about extreme poverty, there are people who are listening who may have a sense of what that means, but I don't think everybody does. I mean, my father came from a situation where it may sound familiar, but he had to study by borrowing other people's books and reading them under the streetlights because they didn't have lamp oil. What does extreme poverty mean in your situation? Where did you come from?
Well, my dad was a truck driver, and he will make $25 a month. My mom was a seamstress, and she will I think that she will make like 75 cents a day or something along those lines. Sometimes we will not think about the question. Sometimes wasn't what are we going to have breakfast today. The question was, are we going to have breakfast today? Our house had no floor, and sometimes we had to go, one meal a day. Our books. Our notebooks. My mom made those notebooks. He will get some paper and he will sew them so we can actually, have something to write on. But the one thing that I want to add to that is that I had a very happy childhood. Looking back, I always, talk to my brothers and sisters. The reality is that we were under very, very dire conditions, yet we were so happy, as a family. And I give my dad my dad and my mom, the credit for raising us with a lot of agency. And what I mean by that is that my dad will, every time that we didn't like something, his question was, oh, what are you going to do about it? What are you going to do about it? And that time, instead of complaining, we start thinking about, well, what are we going to do about this? And I give that the reason where I am today.
I love that. The agency that you talk about, that your father gave you about what are you going to do about it, he showed you that too, right? By sewing together your notebooks with paper that he brought together, right? This is this is they walked the walk. They didn't just tell you do this thing.
Absolutely.
They
Yeah.
empowered you by paving the road with effort and examples, didn't they?
Absolutely. Yeah.
Powerful.
And
Powerful.
to make it more interesting, my dad had a horrible accident when I was in I don't know, I was 13 years old. And when he was recovering from it, from the accident, I mean, he lost his ability to walk for about 2 years, and so my mom had to. I mean, we suffered at that time. In fact, that we went to live with different people because my mom couldn't afford to keep us together. Uh, and then my dad made a commitment, and he said, "I am gonna get better. I am going to build my own business. I'm going to send you to university. I'm going to buy a house." And we were laughing about it because he couldn't do it when he was healthy. But guess what? He did it. I mean, when he came back, he was so committed to doing that he became a very successful entrepreneur in my hometown. Just to give you an example, as I said, the way we grew up is not the way my little sister grew up. When my little sister went to college, the first thing that my dad did is he bought her a car and a house. So extreme differences. But
Yeah.
to going back to me when I was in my issue with my brain tumor, I had that inspiration from my dad, and I
Right.
knew that the first thing that he did is to make a commitment to get better, and that's exactly what I did with myself too. I said, I need to get better. I need to get better. And to
Isn't
me,
that powerful? Like, how powerful is that? Because one of the things that I think is really incredible about that is not only did you learn agency from your father, but you learned that change happens like that. It doesn't happen slow. People think, oh, I'll go on this journey of 5 years and I'm going to change. No, he changed that moment from the truck driver to the entrepreneur. And when he did that, the world around him changed. He changed.
absolutely. And, I mean, one of the elements of resilience, what I think, the pillars of resilience is the number one is embrace the suck,
Yeah.
accept the challenge. And that is reality is that sometimes, it is where I am. That's it. All I have is what I have right now. And the reality is that we already have everything that we need to take the first step. So my
Absolutely.
dad, to your point, he didn't change overnight, but he made the decision, the commitment to start the journey. Just like myself, when I literally when I was at the bottom of my journey and during the brain tumor experience, I made a commitment to get better. And to me, getting better at that time was to get my health back. And the only thing that I could do is to start my recovery. And that's how I refer my recovery to my marathon training.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
I don't want to go too far advanced because we're in Guatemala. Your father demonstrates agency not just through his words and action. His along with your mother, you have this incredible journey, the experience watching him change, watching the world around him change as he changes, and then you say somehow he made it to America. Well, it wasn't somehow. What was the somehow? There was a story there, I think.
Yeah. So I went to a school that was what they call a terminal school. It was a school where they prepare you to get a job, or trade school for that
Trade
matter.
school is what they'd call it here, right?
Yeah. And so university for me wasn't at that time it wasn't an option. I just wanted to work, and I started looking for jobs. I started visiting places where can I get a job. And I went to a foundation, an agricultural foundation, and see if there was a job. And they told me, no, we don't have a job, but we have some scholarships to the United States, applications. At the end of the war, what happened was that the United States, Henry Kissinger created this program that it was called Scholarships for Peace. And the idea was to bring people here after the war and then train them that teach them English, and then send them back so they can become beacons of light, beacons of change. And that's exactly what happened to me. So I came and went to a community college in California. But what that did to me is transformational, because back home, my world ended at the end of my village. My world ended at the end of my town. The war and the poverty, to me, that was normal. That was the way I lived. When I came here, I realized that there was so much I could do. There's so much that I could take advantage of. So I finished my program. I went back to fulfill my commitment of staying in Guatemala for a few years. And then I decided to come back and look for scholarships again. And I got another scholarship to Florida A&M University. I don't know if you're familiar with that. And Florida State University. Got a master's degree there on plant biotechnology, and did a PhD in horticulture, botany and molecular plant biology at Michigan State, and became a professor there. And that's where, I thought that I had it all done when the tumor came. So that's
you said something very interesting when you first talked about your brain tumor in this conversation. You said you were blessed with a brain tumor. Why did you say that? And you meant it. Like when you said it, you meant it.
I did. I even have a funny name for it. I call it my precious.
That's great. Lord of the Rings.
When I got the brain tumor, the Lord of the Rings movies were, big. So, remember, I don't know if you saw it, but,
Or as Gollum and then my precious ring. Yeah.
The ring is precious. And the idea is that it's something that I can carry all by myself, that I need to take care of it by myself. And what I mean by that is that all what I am today was not despite that I had that tumor, but it's because of the tumor. And I think that a lot of times, when people that I coach, is like people, they say, oh, if I wish I didn't have that. I wish I didn't have this and that. And the reality is that the question that I ask them sometimes is, what can you do today? So 40 years from now, you can say that this crisis that you're going through right now is the best thing that happened to you. For me, the brain tumor is the best thing that ever happened to me.
Yeah. And I think it's this core philosophy that sort of comes from you, which is that you embrace challenges as if you have chosen them yourself. And because ultimately we have, right? If you embrace challenge as if you've chosen them yourself, you can approach it with gratitude and intention as opposed to with resistance. And when we resist against it, we're creating countervailing forces as opposed to using the momentum of the challenge to move us through the learning, right? Isn't that the core of what you're saying here? And we're going to get into the equation a little bit, but that's really what the core of the equation is, isn't it?
Yes, absolutely. It's the agency, and this, listen, the biggest power that life has given us is the power of choice. And I can choose to be angry, or I can choose to be happy, or I can, it's a choice that we make, I mean, the feelings, and we can use those feelings and the emotions to drive something that we want to accomplish. I mean, a lot of the complaints that we have are rooted on things that are important to us. I complain that my boss is not giving me information. He's mean, he's that. If you look deep behind, if that is a complaint that you're making, it's because you value information, that you value communication. So that's what I am trying to, that's what I do. What is it that I am complaining about? What is that important to me? And then I use that as a catalyst for change for myself.
So you talk about these three things, right? These three things that you say. First of all, you said, how did you do it? There's nothing special about you. We're going to debunk that in a second. However, I think we're all special, and realizing that specialness is really what you've done so powerfully and intentionally. So let's talk about the three things that we all have, right? That we all have access to these three things you said. And the three things are commitment, persistence, and optimism. Let's talk about what commitment means. What does commitment mean?
So commitment means, well, if you know about me, there are three things. Commitment for me is making an emotional decision. And when I call commitment, because it has an emotional component of that. I am committed to my wife. I am committed to my marriage. I am committed to my religion, to my church, whatever. It's an emotional connection to it, as opposed to I'm making a decision. The decision is cerebral. Commitment is more from the heart that uses. So commitment aligns three things. Aligns your reasoning. I'm committed to this because it's the right thing to do. I'm committed to this because it aligns your spirit. I'm committed to this because I am emotionally attached to this situation. I care about this. And finally, the desire. So commitment, you have to align those three things. Desire, I want to get better to this. You see what I'm saying? So that to me, commitment is the emotional decision that you do, that you make about doing something about something.
So it's connecting your heart and your head in some way, right, to make a commitment. So it's coming, there's an emotional component, there's a cognitive component. You're making this connection on purpose and you're committed, right? So that's what you're saying. So that's what commitment means. Now, I'm going to say that persistence sounds like it's obvious, but what do you mean by persistent? Commitment plus persistence, what does persistence mean in that context?
So if you think about this, persistence is literally grit. Is the ability to withstand the hard times and the pain that a lot of times we have to go through. Life is hard. Life is hard. Unfortunately, we as humans, we tend to optimize for comfort. And when we tend to optimize on comfort, we don't push ourselves a little harder. I see a lot of times people confuse pain with discomfort. It's painful to talk to my boss. It's painful to do X. No, it's not painful. It's uncomfortable. So the way those two things are, if you're committed to something, but you don't take action, nothing happens. Because you're committed to something. But if there's no action, nothing happens. Now, the persistence that's where you take the action. But realizing that a lot of times life is not easy and life is hard.
That's right. That's right.
Now,
so
put together by themselves is a recipe for burnout. And that's what we're going to talk about, the optimistic component of that.
So just by saying commitment plus persistence unrelentingly is the recipe for burnout. Why is that the recipe for burnout?
Because there is not a hope of things get better. So let me tell you, you can see people that are going through work in a toxic place and they just go there, they adapt to that, they don't like it, they hate it, but they keep going. That's grit. You see what I'm saying? Or people that are in relationships that are toxic and they adapted to it, they manage. That is grit. That is no resilience. That is just simply grit. That is endurance.
And that's, if you talk about your father's story a little bit again, right? What he was doing when truck driving and $25 and your mother with 75 cents a day, just grinding it out, doing the same stuff all the time. They were committed to being great parents. They were committed to deliver, you guys had a happy childhood. They were persistent. They kept on going because they needed the 75 cents and the $25. But that was just pure guts. That was just like gutting it out. It's relentless and doesn't have that X factor, which you're adding at the end, which is optimism. Why is it optimism as opposed to, well, first of all, what do you mean by optimism?
Well, there are different ways that you can describe optimism. For me, the way is this is is thinking that this moment that is happening right now, that is horrible, is not gonna last. Is not gonna last forever. The minute going back to my dad's question, so what are you gonna do about this? When you start thinking about optimism, I call it. Some people call it optimism. Some people call it hope. Some people call it long-term goals. Some people call it, the moonshot. But then you have that light at the end of the tunnel that justifies the persistence and the hard times that you're going through today to accomplish and to fulfill that commitment that you made.
Yeah. So it's not just hope, but it's something a little bit more than that, right?
Yeah. Hope is goals without legs. That's what I said. Hope are goals without legs. Optimism is you see the possibilities. So when my dad used to ask me, so what are you going to do about this? Then I start labeling, I could do X, I could do this, I could do these other three things. So it's almost like a call to action to envision the future. Therefore, that helps me. I have to go through this hard time that I have to now because I see myself doing X. My dad said to me, when I remember, he said, I'm going to send you to the university. I'm going to buy a house. That is the optimism in him, and how he's going to do it. He realized that he had to work really hard to get it because he was committed, to your point, to us, to make, to be successful and to take care of our family.
Yeah. I love the way you lit up when you say you see the possibilities, right? Because I think that's really misunderstood when it comes to optimism. I think people think of optimism as just being, you see the sunny side of things, or you're sunshine and rainbows when they don't belong. It's misguided. No, but possibilities, the inference is that it's possible.
Totally.
Right? That you see that it's actually possible to do this thing. And when you see the world, when you clean the lens, when you clean the window, the world you look at changes. And when the world you look at changes, that everything changes, doesn't it?
Absolutely. And here is the way I see a lot of times people say, this is the way it is. I don't have a choice. I cannot do this. It's not up to me. And I think that's what a lot of people are missing, is to see the possibilities that we can make a choice. And by the way, not doing anything about it is a choice. So every time that I, it's funny, when I coach a lot of people, and then I find myself asking them, so what is it possible? What are you going to do about this? And they refuse. Well, let's picture this, picture that an alien comes and does something, what else can happen? And as we start asking for possibilities, they can see that they have agency, not only in choosing our journey, but also in taking action. The action might be, to your point earlier, it might not happen overnight, but just the idea of taking the first step towards something is so powerful. Love it.
Yeah, absolutely. So how did you see possibilities in becoming an ultramarathoner or an Ironman athlete? Why was that an important ingredient in your journey?
There is a concept that I call, you probably are familiar with this, is Keystone habit.
Yeah.
Yeah. And the Keystone habit is a habit that will influence everything. When I was trying to get better, recovering, the only thing that I could do was to take care of my recovery by doing the things that the therapist asked me to do. And for that was to walk, exercise and whatnot. So I started doing that. I started the exercise and I started running. As a result of the running, I made some incredible steps in many, many areas of my life. So I started running, and I found a community that I really loved. The ultramarathon community was amazing. I found my wife through running. We literally ran into each other, and we got married. So here is the one thing that I think that is I think that I know, I believe that this is what you're getting at. At the beginning, people, I will say, well, if I do it, anybody can do that. However, when I was saying that, I was not minimizing, but I was hiding the effort and the persistence that it took to get there. And I think that a lot of times that's what we don't do, is to highlight the effort that it takes to get somewhere, because is key. So now, to your point, to what you say is, how did you decide to become a marathoner? No, that was an outcome. You see what I'm saying? The effort is what got me there. And a lot of times we confuse the effort with the final goal. I want to run a marathon. The marathon is the final goal, but it's not. You shouldn't focus on that. You should focus on the effort that it takes to get there.
And so here's the thing about a keystone habit, which is, it's not the marathon was the keystone habit. It was running and taking the first step. And because the keystone habit is a small, consistent effort, right? It's something small that you can do consistently that has a disproportional impact on everywhere else in your life. So you'll hear generals, Army and Navy generals talk about making your bed, going to bed at consistent time, exercise in any way, shape, or form, meditation, conversation, generosity, kindness. These are keystone habits that have disproportionate impacts on other areas of your life. And so for you, it was the effort of starting this journey, this run, that I'm going to take the first step, and then you ran into your wife.
Absolutely. Yeah.
That's powerful. So look, Luis, everything's not always easy for you. When you're confronted with challenge, how do you remember the formula? What do you do to remind yourself of your own formula?
I don't remember the formula. I just do it.
Okay.
You see what I'm saying? That has built now into in my subconscious, and I think that a lot of times, so if you think about those three things, we already do those things. Everybody has access to this. I guarantee you that you went to school and it wasn't easy, or people have done things that weren't easy, but they were committed to do them anyway. So we all have access to that. What I think that is key here is to be intentional about doing those three things in tandem.
That's awesome. Luis, one of the things that we're doing in Paper Napkin Wisdom is to give appreciation in the world for somebody or something that was influential along your journey, and we call it a shout out, right? So giving a shout out to somebody or something that was supportive in your journey. Who would you shout out? What would your shout out be?
There's so many people that I would love to shout out, but my parents, number one. But I think that there is a teacher, my junior high school teacher, who gave me my diploma when I walked in, the diploma of graduation of junior high. And I remember, he saying this. He said, "This boy is gonna go really far. This boy is special." And I kid you not, I kept that memory throughout has been in my entire life, because that was a motivational, but also was something along those lines of a push. I remember he believed in me. I know that I can do it because he saw it. So his name is Juan. We call it Professor Juan, and he was hard with all of us. But what he did to me at that moment is that he challenged me to do better and to do the best I could all the time. And that's what I've been doing all along.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Luis, thank you for joining me.
Oh, thank you for having me. I really appreciate it.
Well, that's a wrap for episode 227 of Paper Napkin Wisdom. A huge thank you to Luis Velasquez for sharing his wisdom on resilience. As you reflect on the conversation, you might begin to realize something important. Resilience isn't about persistence, but how you frame challenges and fuel your actions with optimism. What if shifting your perspective could open new doors of possibility? Resilience is a skill, not a trait. Could it be that you already have the foundation to build on? Commitment gives you direction. What if getting clear on your why made everything easier? Persistence is about adaptability. Imagine what might happen if you kept refining and showing up. Optimism is the multiplier. How different would your outcomes be if you embraced setbacks as setups for success? Your environment matters. Who in your circle is reinforcing your resilience, and who might be holding you back? Now it's your turn. Consider how commitment, persistence, and optimism play a role in your life. What would it look like if you embodied resilience at the highest level? Write it down on a napkin, snap a photo, and share it using the hashtag #PaperNapkinWisdom. And if this conversation resonated with you, imagine how much more you could gain by subscribing, reviewing, and sharing this episode. What if small insights could shift everything for you or someone you knew? Until next time, remember, small ideas can lead to big results when you take action. The next step is yours. Where will it take you? Make it a great day.
Geico makes it easy to get affordable renter's insurance in as little as 90 seconds. And then you'll start to wonder why everything else isn't so fast. Like, why does it take so long to do the dishes? A meal that's gone in 3 requires 45 minutes worth of dishes. Doesn't make sense. But it does make sense to get renter's insurance through Geico. That way, that pile of dirty dishes and the other things you love are covered. Get more with Geico.
The way we work is changing every day, thanks in large part to the internet. So if you're an online creator, what can you do to create a sustainable future for yourself? On Attach Your Resume, creators share how their jobs work, especially during times like these where big changes are happening in the online world. Listen to interviews with internet reporter Taylor Lorenz, CEO of Patreon Jack Conte, representatives from Defector, Aftermath, and more. Whether you're an online creator yourself or curious about what's going on in the online Wild West, search Attach Your Resume wherever you listen to your podcasts.